And all to play for in the back 35 minutes.
So if you have just tuned in, just to let you know that Joshua Vermeulen, the wonderful fullback for Paarl Gimnasium, is off the field. And players in front of the kick there from Damian Willemse, so not a good start for Paarl Gimnasium. But they've had to reshuffle their team somewhat. I see they've brought BJ Dixon onto the field too, have Paarl Gimnasium. So some changes being made in their team, but it's often really disruptive when you lose a key player in your side. It doesn't matter what position it is.
Vermeulen, he gives them direction at the back. And they've had to reshuffle that back line. And our well wishes to Joshua Vermeulen, who looks like he's hurt his arm. But in saying that, the worst possible start for the visitors. They've had a man in front of the restart.
Steady.
And now both sides to attack from for the Paarl Gym side.
So which way do they decide to go? It's fullback Vian van Sail, who was in the fly half position on that occasion, one that he knows well, and here he comes again. Little pop pass that's well done initially by Theo Boshoff. Then he just couldn't keep that ball in field. But there's a penalty here for a dangerous tackle and an opportunity to kick a goal.
And again, it's a strong running of the inside centre, Vian van Niekerk. He runs straight and hard, gets over the gain line, which means his forwards are always on the front foot. And from the start of the half, Paarl Gimnasium have had a man in front of the restart. They've missed a tackle on Vian van Niekerk and conceded a penalty. Not a great minute and a half to boot for the visitors.
To say that fortune favours the brave, and the lineouts have been really useful from Paarl Gym, but not on this occasion. Free kick to Paarl Gimnasium.
And again, they've been looking for that bailout at the lineout, hitting the front target, and again, it hasn't gone 5 meters, so they'll need to change their tactic. It's the second time they've tried to employ it, and it hasn't worked out for them.
Interesting decision, to carry the ball up in the form of Henry de Toy. Now the kick from Willemse. It's a huge up and under. Coming up for it is Miller du Plessis. Left wing is done very neatly.
Sa eie man speel.
Philip van Dijk trying to stem the tide of the Paarl Gym forwards. That ball's up off the deck at the moment. Well, it's been wrenched away by Johan Joubert. Flying in there was BJ Dixon. But the referee says it's a penalty and might well be against Dixon.
Johan Joubert did brilliantly. He ripped it away in contact, and then the rest of his teammates were sitting daydreaming. The clean-out wasn't effective, and the work at the breakdown by Zach Berger, again, was outstanding. He had all the rust to the ball. He was on his feet. An opportunity now for Theo Boshoff to put his first penalty on the board.
Quite a long kick this, of course, for Boshoff. 44 meters. And what little breeze there is actually into him.
One thing he does, he has a solid strike on the ball, and he certainly won't lack the distance for Boshoff. It's just the direction that he'll need to get right.
That's a good kick, but it's going to fall just in front of the uprights. Perhaps a little bit of a breeze just held it back a bit. This is a huge kick downfield from Willemse. Boshoff, another chance, this time giving it to Vian van Sail. Good running by the fullback. Then a thumping tackle on him from BJ Dixon. So Dixon just come on as a replacement and full of energy. That's also a good kick. Oh, Dylan de Villiers, who's been playing in the fullback position now. And that's very neat play that by Paarl Gimnasium. Lyle Hendricks coming back in field. Now the chip and chase. Which way does this bounce? Hendricks is a quick runner. He's picked it up. He's held on, but there's no support. Well, eventually it came, but the ball's been knocked on. So it'll be a scrum this for Paarl Gimnasium. That's a great run. Fully 80 meters by Paarl Gimnasium.
Brilliant work by the visitors, turning defense into attack. And that man in shot, Lyle Hendricks, was the architect, starting it from the back. Look at the pace shown by the lanky inside centre. The chip and chase was a favourable bounce for him, and he just couldn't find his support runners. He looked to offload in contact, and unfortunately the pass didn't go to hand for Paarl Roos. However, great enterprise shown by that young man in shot in Hendricks, as we see the handling errors fall to the solitary one of Paarl Gim.
We spoke earlier in the game of the inventiveness and the skillful running of this Paarl Roos backline. Could be a highlight of the game, as well as the pack of forwards from Paarl Gimnasium. Paarl Roos maybe haven't had enough opportunities to really execute and bring their backline into play. Maybe giving away too many turnovers during the course of the game, which maybe has been their Achilles heel.
And again, the value of a poor kick chase. It was a decent contestable kick by Zach Berger. However, they moved the ball into space. As we see the trivia question, Paarl Roos produced the most players to represent South African national team. South Africa and the Springbok has 51 to boot and counting,
with Willie Leroux being the last one, who was the 50th.
Point. Sit. Steady.
Jean Kruger.
Jean Kruger. 100%. You got 100% for your competition today. Burger. Flat ball. And the ask to carry up here by Jan van der Kerk. And that ball's been lost now. So a chance again for Paarl Roos.
Leave it. Leave it.
What a struggle we've got here. This is Philip van Dijk up against Raymond Nel and Adrian Ludik. Two powerful lock forwards for Paarl Gim.
Advantage over.
Willemse. Kutsia. Steinman. Daniel Steinman has been relatively quiet in this match compared to his game last week. He's had a lot of work to do up front, stemming the tide of that pack of forwards of Paarl Gim. Now, can they find a way through here somehow? Again, it's Philip van Dijk asked to carry it up, but it's big meets big. Jordan. Quick delivery was what's needed. Kutsia has to wait for it. There's time here for Willemse. Oh. Well, for him, that would be counted as a point-blank range kick, and he's slipped it past the right-hand upright.
Oh, disappointing end to what seemed a very promising move by Paarl Roos, holding the ball through a number of phases. The replacement in the number 19 jersey, BJ Dixon, has added some steel and grunt to this Paarl Roos pack. Willemse dropped into the pocket like he did last week, trying to replicate that drop goal. He probably just had too much time on his hands and lifted his head as it slid off to the right of the right-hand upright.
Boshoff. It's Aiden Topley with a catch, and then on to Dixon. The two replacements that are on for Paarl Roos there in tandem. Bruce Kutsia, he really has tried hard at number 8 for Paarl Roos. And then the long pass out there to Jesse Johnson, finds the touchline and not the player.
Well, it looks like Jesse Johnson has moved into the wing position.
Yes.
And Dixon has come on in the lock. Well, a multi-talented player is Johnson, who can alternate between lock and wing.
Yeah, it's quite an unusual combination. I couldn't imagine Kobus Visser playing on the left wing. with respect to Kobus, did he only play lock at Paarl Gimnasium? Yes.
And I think he will tell you that they forgot to put the 1 in front of his number 4 jersey at times. There's an elementary error from the hooker, Sian de Toy, his first blemish of the afternoon, as his line-up throwing has been outstanding in the first 44 or so minutes. Well, this is one area of the game that Paarl Roos have come under real scrutiny from the home side. Have been pummeled at scrum time. And in the foreground, Andre Boyson, he's had a stellar afternoon, as Roos said.
Just another bit of trivia is the referee in picture there, Nathan Barry, is actually the older brother of Craig Barry, who plays fullback for the Marties, who lost the Varsity Cup final against Potchefstroom University last Monday.
Sit.
Kutsia under a little bit of pressure there again were Paarl Roos. Willems, a lovely little pop there to Topley. Got through the half gap and then a desperate tackle on him. Kutsia again. Another chance here, this time for BJ Dixon. Advantage here to Paarl Roos. Willemse gets through the first two tackles, done really well there, the fly half. Pick up, catch and go from Kutsia. Desperate to score a try. Is it going to come? Well, the hand is up. And Paarl Roos eventually have broken their drought. The first score of the second half.
And put that down to Damian Willemse taking the ball to the line. It was his twinkle toes that set up that maul, and then wonderful work down the blind side by Tiaan Kutsia. He had the presence of mind to put on the outstretched arm, and superior strength in contact shown by Kutsia. Wonderful finishing by the number 9. But again, it's Willemse taking it flat to the line. He's dancing and weaving between defenders, getting over the gain line, which means quick ball for the back line to attack with. And this time, Kutsia was the recipient, and he's got in for Paarl Roos' second try of the afternoon.
Well, that'll go down in Damian Willemse's little personal diary as perhaps one of his worst kicks this season. What a finish this, though. Just watch the stretch.
Just too late was the outside centre. The attentions of Chris Willemse, not enough to stop the diminutive Tiaan Kutsia in getting over. And it's all to play for in the last 23 or so minutes.
Interesting that the wind has just come up a little bit here. That's a high tackle. The wind has come up somewhat, so Paarl Roos can certainly use it. It's at their back. So there was a penalty for the high tackle.
Nummer 2, 11. Nummer 11, Cappy. Ek weet dit was die geval by hulle ook gewees, maar ek waarskynlik net. Dit was gevaarlik, né?
Always good that the referee actually goes and explains, even though that might seem very obvious. Just explain and say, you know, we understand it wasn't perhaps done on purpose.
Disappointing for Paarl Gim. They've done all the hard work to get inside the 22-meter area, put the pressure on Paarl Roos, and then Miller Duplessis just transgresses. To be fair, the 8th man, and Kutsia just ducked into the tackle. However, a penalty conceded for the Paarl Gim boys, and Paarl Roos have a line out just in front of the halfway line.
Old boys are in full voice as Daniel Stoneman makes sure of his throw to BJ Dixon. Well, the one thing one feels Paarl Roos have got to do is they've got to front up front with the forwards. You see that Martin Lowe is off, Peter Nell in his place. At the moment, Paarl Gimnasium are playing with the same team that started this match. And no doubt we'll see some replacements coming up at some point in time. But it's a critical juncture of this game as things stand at the moment. It's anybody's game. But certainly a lot more ball coming the way of Paarl Roos. This is De Villiers. Playing in the fullback position at the moment is the centre three-quarter. But they'll be happy with the fact that they are getting a fair amount of possession, Paarl Roos.
Stay back, get back, 6. Leave it out, 6, leave it 6.
Second half is going a lot better for them than the first. Can they stand up to their position as the second best schools rugby team in the country, up against the 5th team, best team in the country? Could see a little pop pass from him, very neatly done. just to keep the continuity going. They went through 7 phases, but they've coughed up possession now, have Paarl Roos.
Yet again, it's the captain leading from the front. Zach Berger at the breakdown. He's won yet another penalty for his side. Breakdown ailments continue to haunt the visitors, as Paarl Gim will look to relieve some pressure, and this time via the boot of Miller du Plessis.
As die water afkry, kry die water af. Kry die water af. Ja.
So a little bit of a knock there for Theo Boshoff. And the team will be hoping that he's recovered and back on his feet. Critical part of this Paarl Gim team. Has that kick gone out? No, it's been fielded by Moses. One thing they're doing well here, Paarl Roos, is they're keeping the ball moving. You see they look for continuity, catch the opposition unawares. Strong running there from Tristan Leach.
Terug 6.
Kutsia, Willemse into some space. Lovely little offload from him. Somehow that ball's been kept in field. Here comes David Moses. Sneaky little runner on the right wing is David Lee Moses. They're getting the possession they
Leave
want.
it down,
Paarl
leave
Roos.
it! Leave it!
We saw some great defensive work from Paarl Gim in the first half. That is a really dangerous little grabber kick, but look how well Vian van Zyl has done. Get his team out of trouble.
Leave it out 10, leave it 10. Leave it, daar's die bal beskikbaar.
And the long pass back. And Theo Boshoff's kick is a very, very solid one.
Oh, they've been flow of this game. Helter-skelter from both sides. One felt the option from Willemse to put ball to boot was the wrong option. Just needed to keep the ball in hand. And a wonderful touch finder from his opposite number in the form of Theo Boshoff has taken play up to the halfway line.
As jy die merk vat, dan gaan jy laat almal agter jou kom, né?
Well, since coming
Dat
on,
gebeur nie,
Gareth,
dat
you
gebeur nie,
mentioned
nommer
it earlier. BJ Dixon for Paarl Roos and has really done a lot of work, including his jumping in the line out. So Steinman with a throw. It's Dixon with a catch. Willemse. Lyle Hendricks just about through the gap. Here comes Kutsia. He's worked really hard today. Has the number 8, but again, it's good defensive work from Paarl Gim. Steinman.
Los dan 5, los 5, los 5.
Kutsia over the top. That's well read on the left wing by Miller du Plessis. He lets it go into touch and goal, so they'll trawl all the way back towards the halfway line. Not a bad idea that from Kutsia though.
No, it's just the execution that let him down. But if he had looked up to his right, he had a mismatch in the form of tight forwards up against backs. Moms and dads all crammed in here. Girlfriends shouting for their
Lekker om te skram hier, né? Hy's gelukkig om te skram
players
hier,
on the
né?
field. Isn't it great to see the healthy state of our schools rugby in this country?
Yeah, it is, Gareth. And we, that's another debate that we can have, and there certainly is a huge amount of competition. These are just two of top
Boing.
teams in this country.
6, steady.
There's many, many others. And the Mutual and Federal Premier Interschools Series is 12 matches. We're in the second one, the second week of. And they've welcomed Incredible Connection too as one of the associate sponsors. So
Right
good
terug,
that there's
6.
support for sport at school level. Good work from Rano Bierkes. Oh, that's great passing. Here comes a real chance. This man's quick. Muller race at number 8. There's a real chance here for Zach Berger. And he's got over the line. Brilliant play that from Paarl Gim. The speedy Muller race, who's so quick when he's such a big fellow, just opened up the gap.
And he split the Paarl Roos defence, did Muller. Popped it up to captain, fantastic. Number 9, Zak Burger, who's had a brilliant afternoon. Wonderful running off the ball by the scrum off. Fantastic anticipation. The pop pass was outstanding from the burly number 8, and the number 9 in the form of Zak Burger gets his second try and puts some breathing space between the home side and the visitors, Paarl Roos.
So 50% record today for Theo Boshoff. He's converted 2 of the tries. He has his chance to convert the third. So no problem then with the conversion, and the lead becomes a little bit healthier. It means a double score required from Paarl Roos.
It was a break down the middle of the field, and the willingness to keep the ball alive, popping it up to a worthy recipient in Burger. And Gimnasium are ahead by 9 points. And the body language of Paarl Roos is just kind of says it all at the moment. Slumped shoulders. They need to lift themselves for another onslaught.
Well, that shouldn't be the case for them, because they've had so much possession that they've been able to play with, and that's an awful hash there made by Paarl Gimnasium from that kickoff. Remember that we consider a kickoff as important as other set pieces, the lineouts and the scrums, and when you've scored a try, to then cough up a penalty immediately is really not in the plans.
It's the worst possible result. Again, from the restart, it's been spilt by the home side, and now an opportunity for Paarl Roos to hit back straight away.
Well, a key question, can they get this line-out throw straight and then get their forward pack working against this gigantic Paarl Gym pack? A nice tightly formed there. Would be useful if they just bring a few of the backs in too and just carry this up and get it over the line if at all possible. That's how close they are. No penalty advantage to Paarl Roos. Can they get the try? Yeah, I think they have. It's a day for the scrum halves. Tian Kutsia with his second try. 2 tries to him, 2 to his opposite number, Zak Burger.
And what you do our match, says Kutsia, as he gets in for his double in this clash. But it was the maroon juggernaut from the line-out that set Kutsia on his way to snipe over from close quarters. Again, the pillar defender wasn't in place. They set too hard at Paarl Gym, and Kutsia sniffed it out and has brought his side back into this clash. Now the kicking of Willemse becomes critical if he needs to keep his side in touch with the home side Paarl Gym.
Well, he seemed to have lost a little bit of his confidence with the boot, but it's certainly back again as he thumps that through the uprights. And it's certainly game on here. Just over 10 minutes left of this match.
In the form of Tian Kutsia getting under
Time off.
the number 6.
And
Jonas Swart, as his afternoon has come to an end, and he is replaced by the number 18 in the form of Brian Buitendach.
It's a decent catch there from Paarl Roos. And they had a little bit of a sniff of an opportunity of taking this game. It's anyone's game, one feels.
Get away.
But if Paarl Roos continue to get possession like they're getting at the moment, they're in with a real chance of, and I won't call it an upset, because either team, we felt at the start of this match, could win this game.
Smart play by Paarl Roos. They looked after the ball from the restart. They've now foraged their way downfield, and the pressure's back on Paarl Gym to get out of their own half.
Again, it's a pinpoint throw it in the line out. And certainly will tick that box on Monday morning. when they do their little summary of the game, their lineouts have been exceptional. Now, their mauling has not been too bad either. And we're talking here about Paarl Gimnasium. Over the top from Burger. Maybe he hasn't quite gone far enough.
Well, it's on a knife's edge with 10 minutes to play. And this is where the bench becomes critical, Gavin. They just need to put some fresh legs on, one feels, for the home side. They seem to be tiring a little bit as Super Rugby rolls onto your screens later this afternoon as the Vodacom Bulls are taking on the Reds from Australia. And then to culminate this evening's rugby, it's the Emirates Lions against the DHL Stormers at 7:05 on your World of Champions. Now you see the fans, you see the clock is still running because of schoolboy. There's no time off for injuries. And as the sands of time tick away, Paarl Roos will want to get the game going again. There's some nervous faces in the crowd. Paarl Roos have really rallied well in the second half, and it's the mouth-watering clash that we anticipated.
Territorial advantage at the moment for Paarl Gim, but they don't have the put in at the scrum. Can they use their packer forwards in a positive way to put pressure on Paarl Roos in a kickable position?
Gavin, last year, Paarl Gim won the self-same contest 23-21. The year before, it was Paarl Roos who came away victorious by 16 points to 10. So it's gone on away form in the last 2 years. Is that an omen for the men in maroon?
Bind!
So quick take from Kutsia. And the long pass for Limsa. He's moved a little bit further out on this occasion. I'll tell you what, he could play in just about any position in the back line, could Damien Willemse. But they're playing with stronger purpose in the second half of Paarl Roos, and certainly in terms of possession. However, the defensive work of Paarl Gim has been exceptional. Now Willemse looks up and sees there's a bit of space. He's got a massive boot aided by the little breeze. This is Vian van Zyl. So good to see this team running from that position. They've got speedsters, including Jan Jordan. And it's Willemse back for it.
Kom uit. Beweeg uit.
Ball drifting infield. Another chance for them to show that they are also not a one-dimensional side. They've got the ability to run at the opposition. And they've got numbers here. But decide to go back in field.
Stay back.
However, there is an advantage accruing to Paarl Gim. Van Zyl. Neat little catch there from Francois Staples. Oh, big Raymond Nell.
Get away 18. Get away 18. New advantage.
So a second advantage to Paarl Gim. They don't need it at the moment, and they're not going to need it because Miller has scored a great try. And you couldn't ask for a more worthy recipient. He's done so much work today. He set up the previous try, and now has got one himself.
And he picked up fantastic line, did Big Malays. The 1.9 meter, 110 kilogram loose forward. He ran the angle between Kutsia, and he's split the defense of Paarl Roos right open. And look at the palpable delight on the faces of the home side. And is that the final nail in that Paarl Roos coffin?
Well, have a look at it. 7 points the difference at the moment. That tells you that this is such an important kick for Theo Boshoff. because that would mean Paarl Gimnasium would have to score twice to win the game. But Mullerreis, well, you remember him from last year. He was a 16-year-old playing in this Paarl Gimnasium team. Great player for the future. Boshoff will know the importance of this kick. Just a little scoop was all that was needed from him. He's converted all 4 of the tries scored by Paarl Gim.
Look at the wonderful line run by Malays. He just picked it between the 2 defenders, ran at a soft shoulder, and it opened up for the number 8. And look at the delight on the scholars and supporters' faces from Gimmies.
That was a very good call for the ball at the back there. From that kick in, it looked like it might go astray. Paarl Gim did really well. Boshoff, the long pass to the left-footed Vian van Zyl, decides not to kick, but here comes Muller du Plessis. Well, a couple of knock-ons, so we'll have a scrum down to Paarl Gimnasium.
Trying to keep the play moving, did Paarl Gim from the restart. But it's a pack that's ultimately laid this foundation this afternoon. They've been outstanding in the tight 5 set phases. They've had it over the men in maroon. And then it's been the silky skills of their captain, Zach Burger, who's had an outstanding day in defence and on attack, who's led the charge for Paarl Gim.
Paarl Gim have dealt very well with the elements too. The winners picked up quite a lot in the second half, so they've looked to run the ball back when it's been kicked downfield. Look at that scrum, it's a brilliant scrum that from Paarl Gim, but they'll have to reset because it went through the 90 degrees, 45.
And of course you cannot go more than 1.5 meters at scrum time at schoolboy level. As we see, Hempy's the toy. Looking on.
He was telling me a little bit earlier that he's got 4 grandchildren. He says they are enormous. So future Springboks then potentially in the Du Toit household. This time Paarl will stand well. Now the long pass. And David Lee Moses, who hasn't had a lot of ball this game. That's good refereeing that by Nathan now. He has all sorts of trouble here for Coetzee. Bruce Coetzee, that is, at number 8. He's done well. Steinman. Both these teams have played with enormous courage and energy as this game has progressed. There's Jesse Johnson finding himself in the unlikely position of left wing. Moved from the lock position after fullback Josh Vermeulen had to leave the field.
Just trying to keep it alive for Paarl Gimnasium. But one feels their efforts are in vain as they find themselves 9 points adrift on the scoreboard.
Short line out called Yabasi and Du Toit. No, that wasn't in straight, so just an unlikely blemish that from the hooker. They've been so good. We've said it on numerous occasions, but the line-outs are great. And with a little bit of the breeze that's picked up, sometimes those throws go astray.
See Du Toit just finding the outside shoulder of his banker ball in Raymond Nell.
Dixon, the tap down from him. So the abacus didn't work properly that time for Paarl Gim in terms of the numbers they had in the line-out. This is Dylan de Villiers. He's not a big fella, but he's an elusive runner and he's got terrific pace. Now Philip van Dijk. Another good refereeing by Nathan Bailey. He was right on the spot to make his call. Coetzee. And to Henry Du Toit.
Fine.
Can they finish with a flourish? They're not going to win this game, one feels, but they would love it to be a tight finishing contest. Philip van Dijk takes some bringing down, does the big fella. He's got 3 men on him. Another chance. Could Coetzee get over for another try?
Leave it one, leave it.
A hat-trick for him. Another chance now. The charge comes, the twist comes, but once again, great defense from Paarl Gim. Oh, we're going to see a card here.
He's fallen very awkwardly on his neck.
I was taking a knock somewhere along the lines, but he's in motion and he's back on his feet too. They beat him tough in Stellenbosch. And, certainly Andre de Toy is one of them.
Well, it was a pick and poke coming around from Kutsia. And again, they've been thwarted in their defensive efforts of Paarl Roos. And just Andre de Toy at the back of that, picking it up, and he just lands incredibly awkwardly on his neck. Good refereeing by Nathan Berry. Safety first in all forms of the game, and this will be the last hurrah for Paarl Roos to add some respectability to the scoreboard.
Ontspan. Kom ons hou net hier oor tot oor. Asseblief die gap. Dankie.
Well, we haven't had that many scrums in this match, but certainly Paarl Roos have found themselves under the cosh most of the time at scrum time. So can Kutsia get his pack of forwards, giving him a little bit of go forward ball to give him some options. Long pass. Willemse, change of direction now, and a chance here for Aiden Topley. That knocked on, says the referee. That should surely be the final whistle. Just wait for the call. No, we're going to have a scrum down, and it's a simple thing of making sure that you get the ball out here, kick it away, and win the match.
Maybe they need to turn the volume up on that siren, because it went about a minute or so ago. It's been a workmanlike effort.
Yes, alsjeblieft.
As Andre de Toy is still receiving some attention to his neck. Workmanlike effort by Gimmies. Peter Rousseau will be delighted with his charges efforts, as they have put the ghost to bed, having lost here last time out against Paarl Roos at home.
Simple decision, yeah. Go off the field. Andre de Toy, you know, anything to do with the neck, rather come off the field, bring a replacement on for this last scrum. It's not going to make any difference to the scoreline.
Well, Zach Berger should just pick it up, hoik it over his own dead ball line, and that'll be all she wrote in this Mutual and Federal Premier Interschools clash.
Well, the free kick has gone the way of Paarl Roos, and they're going to certainly look to try. Oh dear. Wasn't taken from the right mark, so they'll try again.
Dis die eerste vryskop, gaan na die tweede vryskop, dis 'n pet, daar's die merk.
So the answer, give it to the biggest man, Philip van Dijk.
Leave it!
He's brought to ground. They're defending their line for what it's worth.
Lotto kom weg, 5.
Oh, Paarl Gimnasium, another try, the third time. Could it be third time lucky? It's not going to be. Oh, could still be another penalty. Chance here for Kutsia. Roos Kutsia this time. The scoreboard for Paarl Gim, or rather Paarl Roos, has been dominated by Kutsia's Bruce and Tian. Well, there's the knock on, and surely that's got to be it.
High tackle around the neck, number.
It's a season of last minutes becoming 10 minutes. We've seen
High
it in the
tackle around
Master
the neck,
Cup
high
final.
tackle.
A high tackle this time here from Paarl Gim. So the long pass now for Topley. Here he comes. Aiden Topley has got the try, but it's not going to win them the game.
Well, too little, too late for the replacement, Aiden Topley. As it adds some respectability. It was a quick tap from Kutsia. He found Topley, just jumped inside off that right foot inside Wiaan van Zyl's attempts. Now, Damian Willemse, a kick that is seemingly going to come to naught.
Well, 2 tries were scored by Paarl Gim in the first half, 2 in the second, 1 by Paarl Roos in the first, 3 by Paarl Roos in the second. Willemse will that swing in, and that it's gone wide. So there is the final whistle then. And what another game we've had here in this Mutual and Federal Premier Interschools Rugby. 2 terrific matches in the first 2 weekends. And the bottom line is that Paarl Gimnasium probably deserved to win this game. One feels that they really did well all round. And confirmation then of that scoreline here, full time in Paarl. Paarl Gimnasium 28, Paarl Gimnasium 24.